Hi, everybody. Another late night, another day of being the chief investigator for our son's disappearance and presumed murder. And from my point of view, there's 1,000 days, more than 1,000 days of proof that Richard was murdered. And I was talking to a very good friend about this, about these autopsy reports that we have, about the areas where remains of Richard were found. And, it's when, and you have to, who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe those that are lying, those that are obstructing justice, those that are manipulating the system, using the system, those that are frauding the system? Um, or are you going to look at the 1,000 days of proof and, face reality? That's, and having this conversation because, we've been so pro army our whole life. My whole life, I've been pro army, that it becomes very difficult to face the reality that the institution, that the Department of Defense has rotted away, has forgotten what their duty is, has grabbed onto a new ideology that is not about defending the Constitution, and yet this new ideology is not good. It's up to no good. And make sure that everyone can hear me. That people's our volunteer sons and daughters' lives have been threatened, at risk, and even ended, harmed. Their their psychology, their mental stability has been harmed, has been put in danger, has been put at risk because of this change in ideology by our highest leaders and subsequently the other agencies that we depend on to do oversight. So when you see, I know how this has affected us. When you see a sitting senator, the likes of Ted Cruz, okay? Ted Cruz, he's a seasoned, established sitting senator, um, almost getting beat, almost getting beat by, not really a worthy opponent at all. And it has nothing to do for me of Republican or Democrat, but when you look at their background, when you see what they've accomplished or what they've been up to, um, why in the world wasn't it a slam dunk for Senator Ted Cruz in Texas? He won by the hair of his chinny chin chin. But it is even more disturbing when you see the likes of um, someone I think should be arrested for what she did, and that's the Secretary of the Army, Christine Warmoth. I call her Warmouth. Um, Maybe that's not the right thing. Maybe that's not nice. I don't know. I've been told I've been too nice. I've been too nice with what happened to Richard, with the cover up, the everything that's happened. Anyway, but that a Secretary of the Army, who is she really? What has she ever done? Right? Who is she? And she becomes Secretary of the Army, and she is flipping off a sitting senator, and she's his subordinate. And whether we like it or not, There is a hierarchy in life. There's a hierarchy in all of our positions at work and in the military and government. There's a hierarchy, and there is respect due. And she absolutely should have clicked her heels together for Senator Ted Cruz, for any senator. And he wrote a beautiful letter asking very important questions in our son's case, and he was dismissed. He was flipped off. And he hasn't had the gumption to have any recourse for that. I guess there's no recourse that he feels. I guess he doesn't feel like there's any recourse of getting flipped off by a subordinate 23 ranks lower than him. Um, it's really amazing. And he didn't come back with a little bit sharper kind of letter, you know. So I don't know. I don't know who's pulling the strings and why he doesn't feel like he has any recourse. And of course, we understand how he feels because we haven't had much recourse at all either. We have crimes upon crimes being committed against our son, and of course, Team 5, Richard Halliday, this investigative team. They made us, the CID and the command, have made us the lead investigative team. We didn't choose that. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been investigating. And now it's starting to pay off. So 1,000 days of investigating, 1,000 days of proof in investigating our son's disappearance and murder. And now we've had some big days because we're starting to get confirmation, right? It's not just inquiries. Now we're starting to get confirmation, and we're starting to get people to tell us things that are very, very important in finding our son. And I will tell you, there's a lot of obstruction of justice. There is a lot of corruption, y'all. So much corruption, but I don't have to tell you. And I'm going to, I even called a notary today, and the notary said, why do you want to know? Why do you want to know? Which is illegal. Because in Texas, the notary is public information. And I don't know if people want to have that kind of slave world. I would call it a slave world, because if you can't defend yourself, if you can't investigate your son's disappearance, if you can't access without jumping through hoops public information, public files, and everything is corrupt, everything is a paying underneath the table, or of who you know, then we've lost our country. Absolutely, we've lost our country as far as the Constitution, as far as our freedoms go. Absolutely. So I wanted to address this, what has been brought to my attention, and I think it's very, very important. It is this little tweet here, breaking, dailymail.co.uk. Well, I don't even know who to really trust for news and everything right now. I just know that Trump hit it out of the park with CNN. That was good for CNN, I guess. Maybe they need to be a little bit more unbiased and have Trump on more often, and they would probably do much better as a company. but a media company. But we have this coming from dailymail.co.uk. Breaking Lieutenant Colonel Joe Derek Curtis, an officer in the U.S. Army Cyber Command, remains in his position despite being investigated for rape, sexual abuse, and patronizing prostitutes. His ex-wife speaks out against the Army's handling of this case. So it says here, Lieutenant Colonel Joe Derek Curtis, he's 47, was investigated for rape, sexually abusing his now ex-wife, and hiring some prostitutes, but remains on the U.S. Army's Cyber Command. I don't know what the outcome of the investigation is, but I am going to keep really close tabs on this to see, and it just was brought to my attention. So I would like to know, because in documents obtained by Daily Mail, Corey Jensen claimed he raped her multiple times and tried to pimp her out in what he allegedly called hot wifing. However, Curtis was only found guilty of and reprimanded for the prostitution charge, and no further action was taken against him. Yeah, I have to look into this, because if you can rape and pimp and do these things and stay in your position, keep your rank, I want to know what happened to the doggy colonel, right? The colonel with the doggy mask that was rearing puppies. And when you read what he said about that, these new recruits coming in, and it's like he's looking for new recruits to his sex cult and grooming them to be puppies. And here he is, a colonel, and he was absolutely guilty of being in his mask, being in his uniform, being on a military installation, being in a military building, and exposing himself in uniform. And I've said it before, exposing his erection, which is absolutely, and he's allowed to retire. He's allowed to retire, and he's, I'm hoping. I haven't heard anything about their investigation into him, into all of his cult members. There was a captain that was a cult member, wearing these doggy masks and engaging in this sex cult while serving in the military. Yeah, there's no moral compass, and it's then who you know, because if this Lieutenant Colonel Joe Derek Curtis gets to keep his rank, gets to keep his position, gets just a slap on a wrist, a GOMAR. Is it a permanent GOMAR? I don't believe it's a permanent GOMAR. I don't believe it is. I would bet. I haven't checked, but I would like to know, is this a permanent GOMAR? Because Richard received a permanent GOMAR for underage drinking, 0.04 BAC. So, I don't know where the training, well, we know our military has become politicized. Our military has become the grooming mechanism for our young volunteer sons and daughters across this country, the military has become um, a service to foreign and domestic enemies. And we have 44 four-star generals that are absolutely serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of defending the Constitution, doing their duty. We know that. And we have gotten confirmation after confirmation after confirmation on that. I don't lightly say that because I've always been go Army. I've always been pro-military. I even my daughter dug up the clown picture of me when during the Gulf Wars, in between Desert Storm and Desert Shield, Desert Storm, when I used to clown for all of these welcome backs and deployment functions. Yeah, entertain the children so the parents could have some time together, leaving or coming. Yeah, I remember being in the NCO club and entertaining the children there with some juggling. Yeah, I even learned how to juggle and some magic tricks and little finger plays and things like that. And one child gave me $1 tip. And as I was walking out, I took that $1 tip and I put it in the slot machine. And I won. I won. And the quarters and everything came out, and I put my clown hat. My clown name was Toodles. My Toodle hat underneath the slot machine to get all the quarters, and I went back to our home, and of course my husband was deployed, and Hannah was just little. She was not even 2 years old at the time, about 2 years old. And my grandmother, my Oma, she was there babysitting for this function. And I said, Oma, I won the slot machine, and I gave her the hat. We had a good time. We had a wine together and counted quarters. Yeah, so we've always been pro-army, pro-military, pro-volunteer. The United States, a lot of people don't know this, but the United States was built on volunteerism. Our history has been just known for its volunteers. And there's next to no other country like it. Other countries don't know about. You mean we volunteer? You volunteer to do things? Go and visit some other countries and they'll tell you. People don't just volunteer. But our country has been built on volunteers. And, you'd have all these history lessons about who built the country. And they very, very seldom ever mention the volunteers. And I think that's a very, very important point, especially in the case of our son, because this case is moving at 1,000 miles an hour because of volunteer time, volunteers. Team Find Richard Halliday. And we're very, very grateful, emotionally grateful for that, because you have to understand where we came from at the beginning. The command, the CID, didn't even call us. They didn't even contact us. They were hiding from the beginning. Very important information. They broke their standard operating procedures. They broke every rule in the book. Every rule in the book. And when my husband, um, when I finally convinced him, we really need, matter of fact, I was out doing some yard work and I came in and he waved me into the office and he says, I'm calling the command. And I said, thank you, okay. Um, and Captain Yoshida was very upset. Not upset like angry, not upset that a soldier went AWOL or whatever. No, he was frightened. He was shaking. He was breaking up emotionally. He was crying out. And my husband mouthed it to me. He's crying. He's like, and if my husband's getting upset, um, Captain Yoshida knows. And Captain Yoshida, there is $150,000 leading to information that will find what happened to our son. And we're in the confirmation stage now. It's not just leads. We're still getting leads, but this is confirming the leads. Things are happening that are confirming. I mean, you have autopsy reports that confirm certain dates, certain events. Then questioning, it was these autopsy reports and this information that led us to looking at the process that CID took, that the command took, the process that came out of the mouth of Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, who we believe absolutely needs to be arrested at this time. He needs to be arrested at this time. And I'm not talking for just a little crime. It's a huge crime. And we believe that the Secretary of the Army needs to be arrested. So many. And Vanity Fair Veronica. Where is she? You're going to find out, and you already have, with me coming on every day, that Richard was a whistleblower. And they failed to tell us. Richard was retaliated against severely, and not for prostitution, not for hiring prostitutes, not for raping, not for pimping out. No. If you do things like that, you get to keep your command. Now, you're innocent until proven guilty. I want to see what this Curtis, Lieutenant Colonel Curtis, what comes out of this. But you are allowed to retire as a major general. You are given an extra star, as Bernabe was given, and Clem Coward was allowed to retire. I just quietly moved from El Paso to D.C., move him away. Richard was absolutely retaliated against because of his CPS complaints, where he turned in pornography. He was trying to protect children from abuse, and he was retaliated against. It's hard work to build character in your children. And I'm so proud of Richard. I'm so proud. And I'm telling you, I knew where he stood when I got the video that they felt like that would injure us, because maybe it injures them. But it was the video of him burning the money, saying, I'd rather burn my money, than spend it on whores and blow. And he calls them the big booty. Uh, wow. When I watched that, I was just, oh, where's the champagne? I want to pop the champagne, because I know my son, and I know exactly the message he was giving when he did that. And it was a good message. It was a good message. And then when we received the audio of him warning this young mother, very young mother, just had turned 18 in October 2020, warning her not to lower herself like that with these other people that say they respect her, because, sell her body on the internet and that, because they don't respect you. And they don't. They might say they respect you, but they don't. And those guys, they're just horny. They just want to see you naked. And when I heard him warn her like that, I was just like, Richard, it's hard work to build character in your children. You have to be there. You have to be there all the time. You have to be teaching them while you're walking along the road, when you get up in the morning, at the breakfast table, all day long, all the time. You have to be with them to build that character. And when I saw these, the video, the audio, and even the very last one where he was totally broken. He was really broken. But the first two, and even the last one, because he didn't know what else to do. He was just sorry that they wouldn't be moved, because he knew where it would end up. He knew that it would end up no good. No good is coming from any of this. And he was right. But we're really proud of him for sticking to his guns and trying to help. And I believe just this case, us sharing his words, constantly sharing his position and his words and his character, his distinguished honor graduate title that he earned in his cycle for basic training and AIT. $500 award. So as long as we are sharing this and saying he was a whistleblower and he had an amazing character, he was up to good, not up to no good. He was up to good. He wanted to do something good. And the main things that we wanted to teach him is to think properly about women, respectfully about women. Think properly about children, respectfully about children. That he was a man, that he would be big and strong and beautiful, and that his duty was to respect women and children. Not abuse them, not rape them, not pimp them out. not groom them. And he was true to that. He was true to that. And he was severely retaliated because he wouldn't play with the Vanity Fair. You see, this is why I call Veronica Escobar Vanity Fair, because she's totally committed to Vanity Fair. Totally committed to backing it up. And Richard wasn't. So she'll get promoted. And this is the same thing with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. Can you imagine all his SJAs, all of his top secret clearance into everything that happened? And here he has a soldier that's a whistleblower, and he doesn't even tell the parents. He doesn't even tell the parents. He tells the parents, we have a warrant out for his arrest. He's a deserter. And then this is a yellow Interpol is then put out there as a notice for Richard. Something is not right. And they're using the system, they're using the process in an unjust way. They're abusing it. I wish I had all the proper words that a lawyer has. But I can just say it simply. Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Donna Martin, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick, they're all up to no good. They're up to no good. No good for our country, no good for our children, no good for our women, no good for our volunteer sons and daughters, no good for Richard. They severely, Major General Clem Coward, absolutely up to no good. And people know it. People know it who have served under them. They know it. Which is a domino effect of low morale. Because when you have this kind of leadership, the morale goes low, and then the word gets out, and then you don't have the recruit. Who wants to belong with leaders like this? Who wants enemies? You know, it's not join the military so you can be raped and abused and racketeered, and the enemy is right there. Keep the enemy close to you, right? So that they will retaliate against you. And they absolutely did that with Richard. And so to see that they have a congressman, because the story with this is a congressman came to bat for this lieutenant colonel because they know each other. That's not how the system is supposed to work. The system is supposed to work, justice is blind. That the least of these will get justice, will get help. And we can't even get Bill Hicks to pay attention. Or what about these other AUSAs? To even contact us, which is something we're working on. So what are we working on? Let me tell you. They did not contact us. Captain Yoshida was very upset in a mentally stressed way. So that confirms that they had found Richard's body pieces to me, his body parts. When you're so distressed mentally as a captain, and you're supposed to, you're an army soldier, you're supposed to be able to take a lot. So if you're mentally distressed, it confirms that there's absolutely this possibility that these autopsies are right, that the claims of Red Rio Range, the training area there, is where they found partial remains of Richard. 28th, around the 28th, 29th of July, and the 25th of August. The 5th of August. What did I say? The 28th of July and the 5th of August and the 7th of August, the information came out that yes, those remains were Richard. Have we got those confirmed? Because, I don't want to confuse people. These are leads. And when you hear something that distressing and that they're telling you to cover things up, and the parents will never call, they won't care, and then the parents do call, you're pretty psychologically distressed. Okay, then we have the next remains, the Mexican kilometer 29 remains, also being found in September of 2020, and with an October 9th date for the autopsy. Now, these are two different leads, but yet they fit together totally. And partial, fragmented body parts. And you have then Nadal Bayim, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, going in. This is October 26th of 2020, saying that the FBI found Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico, and it's a secret. Shh, shh. He's dead. And then we call the State Department and say, were the FBI looking for Richard in Juarez, Mexico? And he says yes. And he gives us 3 areas that they were looking for Richard's remains, not for a live Richard. So then we have the Area 244. Let's go to that. So we have Area 244, which is the mock Afghanistan village, right? And they keep a lot of equipment out here. You can see right even in here where they would keep equipment. And so there has to be some people out there guarding. And Christmas 2020, we were told that Lieutenant General called up, hey, did you know that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is looking for Richard's remains in this area? Kamal Jabbar, the mock Afghanistan area, they didn't say Area 244. And then recently, and we didn't know, he didn't even, this is how low life they are. He didn't even call us and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know, so you don't hear it from a third party, that we're out looking for Richard's remains. We received a lead and we're looking for Richard's remains. He didn't do that. He never said anything of the sort. And here we get this phone call. And then now, years later, we get remains found at Area 244. And then I thought, okay, what's area 200, training area 244? I put it in there. This is what I got. The Kamal Jabbar mock Afghanistan training area. Now, chills just go up and down my back when things like this happen. We're getting a confirm of then, and the autopsy is for the very, very beginning of February, the results of it, and that makes sense. If it's Christmas 2020. So we have those three areas. And I'm going to go back and talk about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints very soon, because this all is connected. But I just wanted to let you know how the puzzle pieces are coming together. And it's kind of unbelievable, because I made another call today. I made a call to a notary, because we have information of a person very close to this case, a suspect, doing some strange things with a notary again, December 30th, 2020. And why is the notary asking me who I am and why I want this information? That's illegal. I have a right to look at her logbook. I have a right for her to take a picture of that and just send it to me and let me know if these two documents were notarized on this December 30th, 2020. So if they found remains of Richard in December of 2020, and this person who is a suspect is doing some funny business in December 30th, 2020, and into January 7th, 2021, this is relevant in finding out what happened to my son and where my son is. And the notary shouldn't ask me, why do you want to know? Who are you? Right? Which is very interesting. So maybe tomorrow we'll find out. We were hoping to get it tonight. The other point that's coming together, there's so many points coming together, is that Rob contacted and spoke with the Sarasota Sheriff's record keeping. He could say it better than I can. And there absolutely is no evidence of a warrant for Richard on their books. And yet, we had a fugitive apprehension unit that is part of the sheriff's. He's a deputy, come to our house to, search, arrest, an arrest warrant for Richard. And one of the unit members, I don't know if he's a deputy, came to the back part of our house. So we're getting confirmation now that things were done very messy. Because how did this happen? This fugitive apprehension unit. How did this happen? And, why are people taking care of business? What has got them so riled up? It has to be something very, very serious. And why is it that in our leads, we're getting that Richard was designated, and we'd like to confirm this, but they're not giving us we still don't have Senior Special Agent Veltry's summary. This was supposed to be due, maybe she'll give it to us tomorrow. But the summary is, especially when they haven't done anything for 15 months, what do you have to summarize? How much do you have to write? And the thing is they have, we have given them everything, right? We have given them their position. We've given them their buildings. We've given them the air condition. We've given them all kinds of special little perks, and they have job security, and they have the staffs, and yet they can't get us a summary on day 1021 days. They don't have a summary of Richard's case. I can easily write a summary in a very short time. And my summary is that Richard was a whistleblower, and he pulled on a string and messed with some people's business plans, and they got even with him. They got even with him through the retaliation, the continuous retaliation, and they got even with him by getting rid of him, with murdering him. That's my belief of the summary. And if you go back to the very beginning, which we have to do, and what we have been doing to see the process and things that happened back then, we're revisiting. It's just like revisiting this military police guard mount situation, and I have to tell it all the time. We want to know who this person is in this picture, right? We still do not have an answer to that. And we still maintain that First Lieutenant Dallas Hart was in Delta Battery 143. We still maintain he was in 143. And not 243 like he claims, because we've been lied to. Where is the official evidence? Not some kind of weird handwritten unofficial travel voucher. It's just one con job after the other in this. And we fell for it with Danae Katzen. I was really concerned for her. And that was just a con job. And we've been betrayed by many people in team. Well, let's just say the saboteurs, the federal informants that were assigned, the asymmetric warfare tacticians that were assigned, the collusion with others, they were and are. We have 1,000 days of proofs that they're covering up something so big. And if Richard, and this is what I believe, because Richard was being a whistleblower, because they were retaliating against him, and he would not, his character's strong, and he would not give in to them. And I don't know what all they did to him, because they abused him, y'all. These same people that will rape a child in their home with multiple people in the family. These people that will carry on a an incestuous relationship as an adult with their adult sibling, brothers, right? These people that will do all of the alibis, that will set up this string of, you know, smearing Richard at the beginning in all kinds of ways to mislead us. We're not going to. You want me to believe the people that sent me the vile and vulgar messages? I mean, people that have major connections to the mortuary affairs that send vile and vulgar messages to a family trying to find out what happened to their missing son. No, I want the signature. I want the letterhead. I want the official. We have, matter of fact, I should post that up. We have the IG not even signing the letter to us. They're not even signing it. Where is the accountability? Where is, they're just trying to get out of their legal obligations. They don't want to be held accountable for anything legally because they're so corrupt. They're so corrupt. So, looking at this, I have to say tonight my head is swimming because of all the leads that we have been working the last month, especially. And now we're getting confirmation and where this is going to go next. My head is swimming a bit. Because what other position are they going to make us be besides, the chief investigator and also the one with the oversight? I mean, we're the ones investigating all of our agencies. That's what's been happening when you look at the process. You're investigating the CID, you're investigating the FBI, you're investigating the Department of Justice, you're investigating the Department of Defense, you're investigating all of these agencies that are involved in Richard's case, which are a lot, and the sheriffs and the marshals and the U.S. Marshals and wow. So not only are we investigating Richard's case, but we're investigating the investigators. I guess this is, we're doing Vanity Fair Veronica's work where she told us they're going to bring in a third party. I guess she wants us to be the third party to do all the investigating and the oversight. So we're doing the representative's job now. Or whoever she was planning on getting, maybe the FBI, right? So my head is swimming for the next step because it's becoming very clear that this is a homicide case, that it involved the border, it involved the CID, it involved high-ranking members of the military, and they were going at it. And it also involved a Jack the Ripper type murder for the cover up of child sex trafficking, which involves drug trafficking, illegal drug trafficking, which involves weapons smuggling, which involves the messing with documents, forging documents or changing documents. And you see that even with Richard's case, they didn't have any problem leaking his file and tampering with evidence. What else did they do? There's video missing, this kind of stuff. They have no problem with doing any of that. It's such a breakdown of our country. And this is our law enforcement agencies. This is our defenders. The military is our defenders. They are our defense. And how we're going to see this get even more dangerous is it's going to go to the bench where the judges sit. And the judges will not be impartial. The judges will not be, they'll be political attack dogs. They'll be what the media is. And we still have that campaign, by the way, for the media. Media Matters. You can go to write an email, eoclass@irs.gov, and you can put in a complaint to Media Matters, about Media Matters, about KTEP. I think it's Media Matters, and say, this is bias, which is fine, but it's not fine when you have a tax exempt status. So the IRS needs to withdraw Media Matters, or sorry, I shouldn't say Media Matters, El Paso Matters. El Paso Matters, I have to correct myself, that they need to withdraw El Paso Matters tax exempt status because they're being political attack dogs. They're being biased. They're not covering stories that they should. And so we're going to see what it takes finally, what confirmation finally needs to drop before the media. If the media takes back Trump, right? So CNN, who absolutely did not favor Trump, okay? But they took him back. They aired him last night, and he just blew them away. There's hope. There's hope. So I'm just saying something will break. The confirmations are getting out, and even to legally give a defense through the media of themselves or whatever, they're going to have to cover the story. I believe that. So it is just that serious of a story. And, when people start coming forward and talking, when they start giving you confirmation, when they start becoming the witnesses, then you know that the time is near. And this designation of died while missing is a very clever designation for Richard, because they can absolutely say, okay, we don't have to give you his remains, because died while missing is like an airplane going crashing into the Pacific Ocean right in the middle of it, and you can't find the remains, but you know that they've died. So it's a very clever thing. But if the CID used their badge, if they used their handcuffs, if they used their privileges to carry out a sinister crime like this, like a Jack the Ripper type crime, and then they when they got caught, they had to to get their finances or get their property or whatever in order. Um, yeah, we're getting confirmation, and we're getting lots of information coming in, and hopefully even by people that don't really want to give us the information. And what it's doing is it's really putting our lives at risk. So we're putting out more and more letters about our safety, about our lives being at risk because of the corruption and the CID not doing their job. I mean, where's Veltri? We said, um, you know, we're afraid, and we have a witness that's afraid, that needs protection. Oh, where do we get that from? And they absolutely broke the law when it came to Richard, because Richard, as a whistleblower, um, what is it? I wrote it down. As a whistleblower, he absolutely should get protection. And he was illegally exposed, and they still didn't protect him. They still didn't protect him. They still retaliated against him, and making the whole situation escalate to uh, to a, a dismemberment, a torturing and dismemberment. And I've even heard worse, because they tried, and this is where the surgical skill comes in, and also the mortuary affairs skills come in play, the knowledge and everything, because they did not want the remains to be identifiable. And but they didn't succeed. So I think a lot, please share this, because you are our recourse. It is the number of people that share this story getting out, because that's why there is such a blackout in the media for Richard Halliday's story, for whistleblower first CONUS Deaths 1 missing soldier under the Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart, the deserter that has a yellow Interpol status, which is weird, because I always looked at it like, okay, Richard committed no crime. It was staring us in the face every day, and I was mentioning it every day. And then with all of these leads and looking at the process, it became, oh my gosh, the yellow Interpol is really not a good thing, because it means that they weren't following their processes properly. And if they really wanted to find Richard, they would have absolutely had him as a deserter, and issued a red Interpol. And they would be actively looking for him with the red Interpol. With the yellow, they don't. And so everything has kind of changed. And there's some other aspects of this, Richard's phone, Richard's car, things like that, that we're getting leads in. And as we do our research, because we're the investigators, and we don't have a huge staff, it takes us a little time. But as we do research into his phone, into his car, we're going to get back things that we're like, what? Because this is a botched investigation by the CID. A botched investigation by the CID. And there are conflicts of interest in the botched investigation by the CID. And those conflicts of interest are Tavita Nusa, CID special agent, having a Roland DeHay relationship with First Lieutenant Dallas Hart's mother. And they all know each other, y'all. They're all, former, they're all veterans, they're all, NCOs, or have worked together, and they know each other. It's a small community. And then you have Jay Pollan having the other conflict of interest in the CID with Ron Steig. This is very small little office. And Richard and Jay Pollan was Richard's first sergeant. Absolutely, with associated with the Hart family. And so all of this is becoming apparent, becoming known. The information is, all the dots are starting to really get connected here, and we're getting confirmation. The dates, filling up the whole timeline, that's very, very important, and it is all flowing. You would think that there would be some conflicts, but it's flowing. So I'm going to take some questions right now, and that means we're on the right track. When we get this here 244, something that I've been looking for and interested in since December 2020, that was a huge breakthrough. Huge breakthrough. And do you think that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe could be that cold-blooded? And I do. Because he was in those meetings with us, had every chance, because it was his living room we were in. That headquarters building is his living room, it's his home, it's his office, he runs that whole headquarters building. And we're sitting in there several times, and he never told us that Richard was a whistleblower. Never told us that he had been exposed. Never told us that he had been essentially a target on his back and retaliated against. No. So, and now we're finding this out. Wow. It's a big deal. Thank you, everyone. Just one comment. Okay, Danielle, thank you so much. God bless you. If you have any questions about the Yellow Interpol, the Fugitive Apprehension Unit, what authority gave the Fugitive Apprehension Unit the right to search or try to arrest Richard? That's a huge one. A huge one. What was Richard's designations? You just believe them, but you can't believe them. You have to go and absolutely search every designation that was given to Richard, and you have to put in FOIAs, and you have to say, look, we want to know what were the designations that were given to Richard, and we want you to sign it. We want you to be responsible for this answer and held accountable for this answer. We need a judicial hearing where they have to hold their hand up and take an oath and be held accountable for everything that they say to us. And that would be Vanity Fair Veronica. And so we also are writing a letter to the El Paso Police Department. And this is a very big deal because, let's see, I didn't share the screen there. Okay. It's a very big deal because we want to know all of the, remember I told you about the police reports that were put in about Leilani Hart. And what were they doing when, she has multiple members of her family raping a 7-year-old? What was the El Paso Police Department doing? Were they hearing about this? When she's bragging and they're putting in, going to the El Paso Police Department, when she's bragging that she is essentially running the CID, what are they doing about it? We need to know these things. So, and we have the right to know these things. And why is that making people angry? It shouldn't make anybody angry unless um, unless you have a lot to lose in it. Because what do we want? We want to know where our son is. And right now, with 1,021 days, he is presumed murdered, y'all. Which then leads us to, well, who murdered him? Why did they murder him? When did they murder him? When did they find his remains? Did they find his remains? It's and I believe they did, because you can have one bad report, but when you have three and they're so outrageous, how can they? It's like they make it so outrageous because they don't want Richard's body to be found. So thank you, Danielle. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Because if we can brainstorm through this, getting for the first time, we're really moving at a fast pace, so fast I can't even keep up with it. And that's why I've been coming on a little later. It's so much information that we're getting confirmation on. So thank you so much. And God bless you. And Rob always says, tell him we love you. We're very grateful. And, find Richard Halliday and give us Richard's remains. Give us Richard's remains.